This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Tania Saiz, advocate, mindset facilitator, and neurodivergent artist, whose creations celebrate perfect imperfections. After surviving an ischemic stroke in August of 2020, Tania faced an overwhelming sense of disconnect. Mirrors became adversaries, and her own reflection felt like a stranger, fragile and unrecognizable. Yet, amidst this void, she began to rebuild. Through courage and patience, each moment of eye contact became an act of reconnection. What once reflected weakness grew into a mirror of strength and possibility. Tania's story is a journey from disconnection to profound connection with herself and her community, a testament to resilience, growth, and the beauty of rediscovery. Thank you for joining us for part 1, Tania Saiz story.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we create a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment to honor ways that wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope have shown up in our own recoveries. And we give thanks. Now, Tania Saiz story.
Just before 6 a.m. on August 8th, the alarm sounded in my cousin's house. My daughter Maya and I were dog-sitting in Colorado and planned to head to Boulder for a hike in memory of my brother Alan. We hit snooze. Then I got up, went to the bathroom, and began prepping for the day ahead. My typical teenager was not interested in getting out of bed, so we just chatted and one of the dogs jumped up. I was leaning down, giving Maui a little headlock noogie, and suddenly I saw a flash of light in my right eye, like a crack of lightning. I said, I feel a little weird. Maybe a headache is coming on. I told Maya to get ready and I would wait for her downstairs. I cautiously made my way to the couch, one floor down. At some point, Maya covered me with a blanket. I was immediately uncomfortable, feeling something under the blanket with me. I thought it might be James Dean, the cat. I freaked out and asked her to please take off the blanket. She told me there was nothing there. I remember standing up and walking to the dining table across from the kitchen. As I walked, I saw my arm tapping against my body. I sat down and started asking, "Where's my arm? And where's my hand?" I repeated it over and over. I don't remember feeling scared or confused. I just questioned repeatedly. I couldn't see or feel my arm. It was as if I didn't know it existed. It was lost. Maya grabbed my hand and asked, "Mom, can you feel me holding your hand?" "Where's my hand?" I just kept asking. I stood up to go to the bathroom and immediately collapsed. I folded down to a seated position, and that's when Maya called 911. I tried to get back up, first maneuvering to my knees, but I didn't have the strength to do it. I just sat back down. I don't remember much while I sat there. Then suddenly EMTs appeared in military gas masks. It was the early days of COVID. One was ahead of me and one to my right. I couldn't see their faces and they looked intense. "Stop moving your arm," they kept insisting. I kept saying I'm not. They didn't believe me and that it was involuntary. "Would you like to go to the hospital?" they asked. It wasn't clear if they were implying I should or trying to talk me out of it. The question confused me. Something was not right, so even though I wasn't fully there, I knew I should go. "Yes," I said emphatically, "but I can't go without my shoes." "Where are my shoes?" Maya brought my Merrills. Like a small child learning their foot goes into the shoe, but unable to figure out how to bring both together, I struggled to place them on my feet. No one helped me. Then the EMTs grabbed my ankles, planting my feet together flat on the floor and holding them there. Then they firmly grabbed me by my wrists and pulled me up off the ground the way you would pull a small child for fun. And they did it with enough force that I popped up and landed on my feet. It was not fun. It was physically jolting. Then they walked me into the dining room, through the great room, up the stairs, and onto the porch. They offered little assistance from the house to the gurney at the end of the driveway, except to hold me by the back of my shirt. In the ambulance, while hooked to an IV, the EMT asked, "Have you ever had a panic attack?" "Yes, 10 years ago. I just hyperventilated." But I couldn't find those words. So I just said, "But just my breathing." I asked for my daughter. "She's meeting you there." While we were driving, I don't remember hearing any sirens and have a memory of hearing them say stroke negative, but that didn't even register. I had no idea what was happening and wasn't asking questions. If you know me, I ask questions. Lots of questions. All the time. I just sat there. No thoughts. No questions. No memories. In the hospital, they gave me a bell to ask for help. I rang it. I needed to go to the bathroom. They brought me a commode and helped me out of bed. They told me to ring the bell when I was done. I just stood there. I couldn't lower my pants, so I rang the bell. And they lowered them and left me. I had to ring the bell to get help pulling my pants up and returning to bed. Then I sat alone in a room. I kept repeating, "Is Maya here? Where is Maya? Where is my daughter?" to anyone who passed by. It's important to know that I got to the hospital around 7:05 a.m. There was no stroke alert called at that point. So I just waited in a queue for a CT scan. At about 10:40 or so, they finally took me for the scan and saw I was having a stroke. So much time had passed, there were very few options. At no point was I concerned about anything. In those 3.5 hours, I never used my phone, not a curious Google search about what was going on, no Candy Crush, no doom scrolling, nothing. Just the bleeps and beeps of the monitors. When I understood I was having surgery, I asked, "Where's Maya?" I worried, will she find me? Will she be scared? On a gurney, looking up at the ceiling tiles as they wheeled me to pre-op, I somehow unlocked my phone and dialed my sister-in-law. I spoke gibberish and then handed the phone to the person wheeling me. That's how my family found out what was happening. In the operating room, as they cut through my white Old Navy tank top with a rainbow and the Statue of Liberty, I cried out, "Oh no, not Lady Liberty." They laughed as they cut right through the middle. The next thing I remember, I was lying on my side in the ICU, facing the door. I could hear voices behind me discussing whether or not to remove my breathing tube. It hurt. Yes, I thought, I want this out. And whenever they'd discuss it, I'd reach back and tap against the bed to get my point across. I don't know if I was actually moving, but I tried. By the time they removed the breathing tube, I was aware I couldn't move my left side. In total, I spent about 20 days in the hospital, in and out of different units, with a return to the ICU after a brain bleed, and eventually transferring to an acute rehab facility for 10 more days. There would be much to discover about my limitations, capabilities, and more importantly, myself. Imagine waking up and slowly coming to understand the challenges ahead. You're only aware of what you can experience, which is very limited in a controlled hospital setting. Awareness of one of my most profound deficits, which continues 4 years later, started with a question from the occupational therapist. Can you feel temperature differences on your hand? I had no idea. When we checked at the sink, I realized I couldn't tell the difference between hot and cold, or even feel the water on my skin. While my arm felt disconnected, I accepted it was still a part of me. Instead of saying my weak or affected arm, I decided to name it. Reflecting the movement and tremor, it would be referred to as wavy gravy. I would often lose it over the bedside, getting caught in the safety rails, or it would slip between the chair's cushions and get stuck. When I told the therapist, she suggested making eye contact with my hand to understand where my arm was in space. Huh? It didn't make sense because there was nothing to focus on, and my hand never seemed to look back. It just kept finding ways to get into trouble. Then came my aha moment. Wearing my yellow fall risk Big Bird socks, I walked to the nurse's station to ask for a Sharpie marker. With intention, I drew 2 eyes on the small webbed space between my thumb and index finger and proudly showed the unimpressed nurse. Back in my room, I began to get to know my arm better by making mutual eye contact with it. Although it would often get stuck, I was learning to catch it in time. After leaving the hospital, a new set of adventures began. The first time I wore long sleeves, I was startled when it unexpectedly crept up from behind me. There were plenty of new and fun places for it to get caught, like those tiny grates in grocery carts or on the counter as a drawer closed. I even got it caught in a door and didn't notice until I tried pulling my arm away. When I looked over my shoulder, I saw my fingers trapped in the hinges, the first of several fractures, and a subtle reminder that I still needed to keep eye contact with wavy gravy. Before my stroke, I never struggled with communication or eye contact. It was my job. I trained and presented to teachers regularly for over 20 years. Overnight, I would suddenly need to be reminded and retaught how to communicate and maintain eye contact with my left side. Looking at others would take a back seat. A note on my mirror reads, "Make eye contact." It's a daily reminder to connect with myself. When I look into my eyes, I see someone present and focused. It's taken 4 years to get here. I remember looking at her, but she's not looking back at me. I see the concern on my face as I try to connect with her. She's there, but not the whole person, and I can't reach her. She looks broken. Her left arm kind of hangs there. It seems like they reattached it, but maybe forgot to reprogram it. There's no energy flowing. It just exists. Her shoulder hikes up a little as I examine her. You can see the discomfort, as if I might uncover some truth. I try to meet her gaze, but she moves slightly to avoid me. As I steal a glance, I can see her right eye looking directly at me, but her left eye cannot focus or connect. It lingers in the background, almost afraid to receive the information the world is delivering. Have you ever felt overwhelmed and stepped back to observe a situation before diving in? That's what I was seeing. Not an active participant. Instead, she was an introverted observer dragged to a party by an extroverted friend with the promise to stay by her side, only to be abandoned at the door and left to fend for herself awkwardly. She wasn't ready for a whole life. She was still trying to reconnect from within, fearful, guarded, and concerned about how she would appear to the world. Although she seemed fine outside, there was much left to rebuild internally. Would they see through her? If I saw the struggle that she wasn't entirely there, could everyone else see it too? That burning issue in the back of our minds kept us from coming together and syncing up. There was a barrier of mistrust. I remember feeling wildly uncomfortable the first time I had to look in a mirror for vision therapy, a form of rehab that focuses on improving visual skills and abilities. All I saw was the imbalance, and it was taking place in public. I didn't recognize myself, not due to physical changes from the stroke, but because I was not yet present and available to myself since my stroke. One of my least favorite therapy exercises involved eye contact while turning my head. That distant eye never felt right. Every time I had to do therapy in front of a mirror, it became a tremendous distraction. I simply didn't know who that person across from me was. Another note on my mirror reads, "Even though I do not recognize myself in the mirror, I love and accept myself." Vision therapy has been an essential part of the journey to receive information. My eyes have become lifelines without the typical tactile and proprioceptive feedback providing critical information. To grasp an object, I need eye contact. To hold on to it, I must maintain visual contact. While this reliance on vision has been crucial, it has also presented challenges. Though helpful, the habit of looking down to understand my body's position has also reinforced a dependence that I've had to overcome. My trainer, a compassionate supporter in my journey, constantly reminds me to look up and use the mirror to check my form or that my arms move evenly. I've hated it, but the more I've been checking in with myself in the mirror, the more present I've become. And in growing to understand how my body is moving, my gaze has slowly shifted up to make eye contact with myself to find the steadiness needed. Looking at the bigger picture, not just seeking her out, has helped me develop greater trust in my body and its relationship with the world. Now I find presence, steadiness, and trust available whenever I look myself in the eye. Successfully navigating life requires both eyes to work harmoniously, creating balance and unity. Without this, it's like having two different perspectives informing the same body to take action. It can get clumsy. Once I reconnected with the person in the mirror, once she became a part of me again, I could see everything improving. The journey was not easy, but the transformation and growth I experienced were worth every struggle. I tried for so long to see a difference, but the honest truth came from experiencing that difference. I can't say exactly when my perspective shifted, but I don't need to understand it. I just need to feel and live it. I remember mindfulness being something that my brother leaned into while he was battling cancer. At the time, I didn't understand the practice, and like many others, thought it required some higher level of understanding and being in a place of total peace and harmony. Over the last 4 years, mindfulness has become a cornerstone of my journey, helping me live in the moment and with greater self-compassion. It's also helped me feel into my body so I'm not overthinking. Hey, is that you in the latest Love Your Brain email? A friend recently texted. It had been a few months since the photo shoot, and I had zero expectations. It was exciting to see these photos used to show my support for Love Your Brain and my availability, presence, confidence, and comfort with myself and the world around me. You see, it wasn't my first Love Your Brain photo shoot. 3 years ago, I participated in a yoga class and photo shoot at the Lululemon in Soho, but those photos never made it out into the world. Getting to Soho is always an interesting experience. It's one of the few parts of Manhattan that doesn't follow the typical organized grid layout of New York City. My support person, fiance and Sherpa, Rob, got us there. As I walked from the car, everything felt immense. I followed Rob's directions as he navigated us to the studio. He set up at the front desk, working on his computer in case I needed him. While there was no vibe I can recall, except maybe a New York City minimalist vibe, we were welcomed to a space complete with all the support props. I didn't really know anyone from Love Your Brain. I was new to their community. I took my first mindset class that February and was so deeply impacted that in September I trained to become a mindset facilitator. That's really why I agreed to participate. It felt like a new friend inviting me to do something I would have declined to do on my own, but I accepted despite my reservations. I was nervous, socially awkward, and uncomfortable making eye contact. Perfect for a photo shoot, right? Back then, I was mainly in observer mode. I was still unsure how to engage and had seeing and hearing difficulties that had yet to even be acknowledged. Throughout the day, an instructor led us through a modified gentle yoga class for the photo shoot. I followed along physically, but there was no flow. Each movement was distinct. Consciously, I had to think about everything my body was doing. I was still relying on self-talk to loudly tell my body what to do, sometimes getting in the way of class instruction. There was so much happening that I'm unsure if I felt anything. I didn't have enough bandwidth to act and feel simultaneously. The whole thing was a real stretch. I was still reconnecting with my body and wasn't comfortable doing it in public. The honesty of the camera lens revealed it all. The emptiness in my eyes and my struggle to connect with myself and others. It was a pivotal time in my understanding of how much the stroke had affected my ability to process visual information. For over a year, I was seeking help. I couldn't see clearly and struggled to read. I'd seen 2 neuro-ophthalmologists who were quick and happy to tell me I hadn't lost any vision, there was no field cut, and my eyesight was 20/20. While the test results seemed to satisfy them, I still could not see. I began to accept that it might not be something that could be supported through therapy. Lord knows I was into every therapy modality that could help. Thankfully, I was wrong. A few weeks before the first photo shoot, I was evaluated by a doctor who truly understood my struggles without me having to say a word. She noticed the tremor in my arm as I attempted to read the vision chart. My arm's movement revealed the effort it took to do something that should be simple. The challenge was not to see, but there was great effort to interpret the information and coordinate my brain, eyes, and mouth to read the chart. No one else had noticed this disconnect. I knew I was finally in good hands, and the actual work was just beginning. After years of isolation and working on regaining comfort with myself, something amazing happened when I was finally ready to make eye contact with others. The world responded with eye contact in return, and I was pleasantly surprised by the opportunities that came my way. Fast forward to the Asana in Charlestown, Massachusetts this past August. I felt more connected to my body and myself, reflected in my confidence. I only needed Rob to drop me off at the curb this time. I had a defined purpose for my participation to portray the role of a mindset facilitator, which I authentically live. As a facilitator, I've been fortunate to develop a deeper connection with myself while creating a space for others to connect and build community. This shared safe space has enabled me to engage with both myself and others meaningfully. What I love most about this role is that I can show up authentically, recognizing that some days are better than others. I also have a brain injury, which means I must practice patience and understanding with myself, especially when my challenges impact my ability to facilitate. Becoming a mindset facilitator marked a significant milestone in my journey. About 6 months after my stroke, I experienced the mindset program with Love Your Brain for the first time. The leadership displayed by someone who also had a brain injury was genuinely inspiring. She demonstrated all the skills I had lost, which motivated me during my cognitive remediation therapy. This therapy focuses on developing thinking, memory, and problem-solving skills. Prepping for my training gave me a sense of purpose, and my work with the community has become the most meaningful role I could imagine. This time, the camera fully captured my transformation.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer reflection questions as an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, or fellow stroke survivors. In a moment, I will read questions aloud, and you can also find them written in the podcast episode description. Now, community conversation prompts. What has helped you rebuild your sense of self post-stroke? And what are some small ways you've noticed your confidence growing since your stroke?
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show.
Thank you for listening to Part 1, Tania Saiz story. Stick with us for Part 2, Tania Saiz interview. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. In this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, Tania's journey reminds us of the power of connection, starting with ourselves. Through her courage to face the unfamiliar and rediscover her reflection, Tania has shown us how resilience and self-acceptance can open doors to deeper connections. As you go forward this week, consider the ways that you connect with yourself, your loved ones, and the world around you. Every glance, every moment of eye contact holds the potential to rebuild and strengthen bonds. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with others and consider donating to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.